last summer. While he was shooting the first season of it, he had this idea, and I back and forth on the phone, we wrote this thing. And to just finish it up, he was talking about that, of course, starting a new season down there. He asked me where I was headed out to this weekend, and I said, well, first night of this weekend, I'm headed out on Thursday, going out to Michigan. He said, where in Michigan? So we're going to Kalamazoo. Yeah. And he said, well, he got kind of weirdly quiet for a minute. He said, Kalamazoo, huh? I said, yeah. He said, be careful. I said, buddy, I've been going to Kalamazoo almost my entire career. Played the theater there a lot of times. And he said, no, that's not what I meant. He said, we played there, and his band, the Boxmasters, and it ties into, they were out last summer playing shows. He says, great audiences there. He said, this particular night, we finished up on a show over in Detroit. We were headed across to go to Chicago the next day. He said, we got off, just past Kalamazoo. He said, we'd gone through Battle Creek, we got over to Kalamazoo, and just a little bit west of town. He said, the band and the crew had all gone and got in the bunks. They had eaten dinner after we came out of Detroit. I was the only one left up, so I went up and sat in the jumpsuit across the drive and just kind of watching the world go past out there in Michigan that night. All of a sudden, two big flashes of bright white light came into the windshield. And then we lost a bunch of time. I said, you lost a bunch of time? I said, this happened just outside Kalamazoo? He said, yeah. I said, what do you mean you lost time? He said, well, when we came to or woke up, whatever they call it, it was way up there in that part of Michigan called Upper Peninsula. He said there was a couple of game wardens looking at us because there was a moose standing right across in front of the bus. And they asked us what we thought we were doing up there and what we were about to do to that moose. I looked at the game warden and I said, I have no idea. He said, I'm not even sure. He said, I told him, I said, I'm not even sure where we are. He said, we're in the UP. I said, I beg your pardon? The Upper Peninsula of Michigan. He said, up above Traverse City on up into there. He said, you're way up here. He said, how did you get here? I said, I don't know. He said, Billy, let me ask you something. Are you guys drinking? I said, the Upper Peninsula is way up there. He said, no, man, we weren't drinking. We weren't doing any dope. Nobody. We all just ate dinner and the guys went to bed. He said, the weird thing was we were all wearing each other's clothes. I said, this just started just outside Kalamazoo, so just west of it. He said, those two game wardens, another sergeant pulled up, game warden sergeant. He got out, he walked over, and I think he knew who I was. He looked at me kind of winked. He said, hey, don't you like French fried potatoes? Billy Bob said, I want. Would I do anything to get off the Upper Peninsula and get away from that moose and these game wardens? He said, yeah, you like them with mustard on them, don't you? He said, I just went along with it. And he started laughing. He said, I don't know how you guys came to get across the bridge back there and get out here. He said, you don't remember any of it? I said, Billy said, no. He said, well, be careful wherever you're headed. He said, we're trying to get to Chicago, but we may have missed that gate. Anyway, he said, the weird thing was, it happened a couple other times last summer when the Boxmasters and he were coming across Michigan to get to. He said they were going to play in Saginaw the next time. They came through right in Kalamazoo. He said another time they were going back down to Indiana and they came through Kalamazoo. I said, there might be other ways to go to places like Indiana or get to Saginaw without going through Kalamazoo. If that's what happens. said, yeah, because it happened a couple more times. We ended up weird places, time this. I said, well, Billy, you're starting to sound like that fella in the joke about the hunter and the bear. The bear finally looks at him and says, I think you're coming out here for more than a hunting, aren't you? And that's the punchline of a very filthy joke, so I'm not going to go into it any further. But anyway, you're starting to sound like that. I said, but let me ask you something, man. I said, do you think you might have been abducted? He got real quiet again. He said, yeah, I think we were. He said, but don't tell anybody back, all right? So I said, okay, I won't. So let's just keep this between you and me, all right? Because I didn't have the heart to ask him if he felt like he'd been probed or anything. He was already ashamed enough to tell me he thought he was abducted. So I said, Billy, if you're ever out there west of Kalamazoo, or anywhere else in Michigan, or if you're down there in Indiana and it happens, or any place that a big flash of a bright white light might come through the windshield, I said, just look up into the sky and say, hey, Mr. Spaceman. It goes in my head. All I hear are the broken pieces. I'm a thousand miles nowhere. Time don't matter to me. I'm a thousand miles nowhere. Little bit I wanna be. I've got tear stains on my hands. In the middle there's a vision of what used to be man. I'm 1,000 miles away. Time don't matter to me. I'm 1,000 miles away. I wanna be. I'm 1,000 miles away. Time don't matter to me. I'm 1,000 miles away. I wanna be.